Previously on Cloud Management Monthly.
Graham Barker, welcome to the show. Okay, so we've defined what is cloud management. Now, how do we get started with cloud management?
First and foremost tends to be the management and the monitoring of it all, and the management of that. And then secondly, the automation of those platforms. My kind of understanding about what clients really want to do is they say they want to employ cloud management, but you need to find out at what layer. And most of the time, clients come back and say it's the app. We care about how well our mail is doing, how well our public-facing applications are running, etc. When you talk to IT teams about putting a new solution in, there's always kind of hesitation. It almost makes it a no-brainer to move to something new, just because it gives a significant amount of time back to the team. Machine learning and things like this that do a lot of things in the background for you. You want to make sure that the platform you're choosing will grow with you. So that's always a very good thing to look at, is how frequent are the updates and how significant are the new features within those updates as well.
Hi everyone, welcome to Cloud Management Monthly. My name is Sunny Dua and I'm your guest today. Oops, yeah, I'm your guest today. I'm not the host. We have Dan and Matt who are the hosts. Let's hear from them.
Welcome everybody to Cloud Management Monthly. It's great to have everybody here for episode number 3. My name is Dan Kerr. I'm here with Matt Bradford. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Dan. How are you, man?
Great. Everything's going great. Man, we have such a fantastic show for you in line today. If you are watching us on YouTube, don't forget that we are available via podcast, so you can just put your headphones in and listen. And if you're listening to us via podcast, we are also available on YouTube at cloudmanagementmonthly.com. Matt, man, what's on tap for today with the show?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a whole lot of stuff going on. We've got VMworld coming up. We've got product announcements. We've been making a lot of noise about, the latest vRealize suite products are coming out. And so today we've got a very special guest on to talk with us about vRealize operations and the next release, 8.2, that is coming out for both on-premises and then, of course, vRealize Operations Cloud. So Sunny Dua is here with us today to talk about everything that goes into a new great big release like this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to some good conversation with Sunny.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess without any further ado, because we're both so excited to have him on, welcome to the show, Sunny Dua.
Thank you guys. Thank you for hosting me, and I'm absolutely lucky, I would say, an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's too kind. You're in California right now. How are things there with the wildfires, everything that's going on in California?
Things are kind of funny. I mean, 2020 is kind of not ending, I would say. We started with, I remember back in Jan and Feb, we had a bunch of customers coming over at the VMware campus. We had a technical advisory board, and that's the last time when I saw a bunch of people together. Since that, it's just been crazy, right? With one thing after the other. And right now with the wildfires, it's just smoke out there, which is unfortunate. We had friends, Alan Renouf, who lost his house, and it's pretty disheartening in terms of what's going on. But there is a ray of hope. I would say things are becoming better because of the weather changes, some rains. Hopefully everything kind of goes back to normal. And hopefully 2020 gets over and we get onto the new year with some new hopes and some positive changes.
Yeah. I mean, that was all over the community too, with Alan losing his home, and it's too bad when you see your own community members get hit with such a terrible thing as the wildfires. And so just want to call out too, depending upon when you see this episode, there is a GoFundMe page to help out Alan and his family. You'd see it right here on your screen. So if you can, try to help out a fellow community member, that would be fantastic. So always great to see the community come together to, really help each other out.
Yeah, it's really the best part about this whole group, right? I mean, we've seen it time and time again, and there's no doubt that everybody will come together for Alan too. So thanks for mentioning that.
So, I mean, despite everything going on in the world today, it's been kind of, from the work side, we've been pretty busy. There's a new release of vRealize operations, right? We've been talking last couple episodes about cloud management, and we really wanted to sort of bring things together. Some of the things we talked about previously. What is cloud management? How do you get started in cloud management? And vRealize operations is a great platform for that. And we're fortunate enough to have Sunny on the show today and talk about what we have in store for the next release in vRealize Operations and Operations Cloud. So I guess, Sunny, I mean, first question, there's a lot to unpack in this release here.
Mhm.
And for you and your perspective of working on the product, like what are some of the top features and things that we're bringing to this product?
Sure. No, you have a good point, right? I mean, the software development has not stopped. This is one industry which is not stopped or impacted by COVID. Thankfully, to the plan now, which Pat had for us with the Workforce 2.0 to be able to work from home. So sometimes I feel that we are kind of creating the PPE kits because it's so busy up here. There's one after the other. And the releases, as you all know, with vROps and the whole cloud management suite coming together happens every 6 months on premises and also happens in the cloud version. So we've been busy, I would say. 8.2 is just a step in the direction of the bigger picture, which we have been kind of thinking of, the overall vision. And if I want to divide that vision more for everyone who's listening to this podcast and what we were discussing in the previous two podcasts as well around cloud management, then I would synthesize it into three kind of internal targets which we have. The first one is to be able to manage in a multi-cloud environment, right? So gone are the days when a customer is just using vSphere or just using Hyper-V. We all know that every customer is leveraging the platform of their choice depending upon their business requirements or the line of businesses, right? You talk to the security guy in the organization, he would say, I want a private cloud. I don't want this data to go out. You talk to the developer, he says, I want AWS. I don't want to deal with the IT guy. I want to just go ahead and get what I need. You talk to the CIO and he'll say, I don't want to manage data centers. I'm here to innovate. I want to build applications. And you tell him to manage a data center with servers, storage, it's crappy stuff for them. So literally every customer is on a journey of multi-cloud. So that's our first goal. How can we do multi-cloud management? The second one, which is moving the needle from infrastructure to applications. I mean, I would be lying if I say VMware is an application company, right? We have been infrastructure focused from day zero, starting from the days when we virtualized the desktop or operating system, GSX, and then came to ESX and vCenter. It was all about the infrastructure. It was making applications or operating systems agnostic to hardware, right? By bringing in that virtualization layer. And that gone along with SDDC, with NSX and vSAN, everything coming together. But in reality, all this expensive set of infrastructure and software is being bought by our customers to serve the line of businesses and the applications, right? And hence, if I have a cloud management platform which does not understand the language of the application, then it might not be useful, right? So that's where our second level of investments have been in order to make our platform application aware, right? So that we have a full line of sight from the business transaction down to the infrastructure and are able to highlight anomalies, especially in terms of operations or day-to operations. And it also goes with provisioning as well, right? When you're provisioning workloads, it's not just focused on infrastructure provisioning, but starting from application down to leveraging the knobs and the bells and whistles of the infrastructure. So that's the second one. And I would say the last one, and I think very critical and close to my heart, is ease of use or simplification, right? I mean, it's while we say that there are cloud portals out there where you can go ahead and consume services. AWS is a big example. I'm a big fan of AWS. You can go ahead and curate hundreds of services together to build what you want to build, right? However, it comes with complexity. And in order to deduce or in order to hide that complexity, we need to build a layer on top of all the clouds, which includes application and infrastructure, and simplify that experience not only for the end consumer, but also for IT, right? Even IT is struggling with all these resources coming together, and to be able to consume or to be able to have visibility into what's going on in their infrastructure, right? And the third goal over here, what we are after is ease of use from that perspective. So you will see the reflection of all these three themes in the the outgoing product, which would go out with 8.2, and hopefully in the subsequent releases as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting that you bring up the applications and bringing more visibility to those. I mean, we've put a lot of continued investment into Telegraph and into our traditional more monolithic application monitoring. We're also including APM integrations too. But I've been working with you a lot on even the container side, right? There's the monolithic application and then the container side. So, I mean, are you hearing a lot of noise from customers, or what's kind of driving that that path?
Yeah, so I think that's a great point, right? So, in fact, there's a little story I told my executives when I started or asked them that I need to invest in Kubernetes, and I had to tell that story. The storytelling is my job. So I went on with the story to them and said that, hey, you know what? People had infrastructures, then they had virtualization on top of it. Then they started bringing VMs on top of it. And then on top of VMs, you run some software packages or applications. And then finally, you run a business service, right? It could be a shopping cart, it could be a credit card transaction machine, or whatever that end business service is. But ultimately, what is happening is that the applications which are delivered from various different vendors, or which are being developed in-house by the large customers who have their own developers, need modernization because they cannot really depend on the infrastructure scalability or resiliency all the time. They need to scale independent of the infrastructure. They need to be resilient independent of the failures in the infrastructure. And that's what Kubernetes does for you, right? So the key components of Kubernetes proliferate itself into a desired state configuration, which can be defined by the developer for an application, whether it's for CPU, memory, storage, or for the instances of the application, right? Now, I would be lying to myself if I say that all the applications will continue to run on VMs forever. The reality is that now we'll see, and we're already seeing actually, a plethora of applications which are a combination of VMs and containers together. And that's where VMware's strategy on going towards the Heptio acquisition, with Joe Beta joining our team, and then forming the whole Tanzu platform. I mean, if you look at the strategy, it's pretty clear, right? We have to evolve from VMs, and we have to also absorb containers into the strategy, so that as customers build these hybrid applications, which are running partially on containers, partially on VMs, they are able to run it on the vSphere platform. And anything which runs on the vSphere platform, I think it's my duty and responsibility to be able to manage it. And hence, we wanted to extend the capabilities of what we have built in, let's say, vRealize operations or automation or network insight. All of these platforms naturally extend to Kubernetes that ways. That's kind of the one benefit if you look at top down. If you look at from a customer point of view, right? And that's, I mean, the top down is our opportunity which we have. We can make money, of course, and it's pretty simple and obvious. From a customer point of view, the challenge which I'm seeing talking to customers is a number of customers who have been the VMware customers, right? Worked in the infrastructure world, VMs. It's hard for them to learn and understand Kubernetes immediately. It's hard, right? But the CIOs and the application architects are continuously throwing Kubernetes into their field and saying, hey, you have to play this ball. It's not my responsibility anymore. And there are two choices these customers have. One is go hire a new set of resources who can do all this management with new set of tools. Practically impossible, right? I mean, I remember somebody had a resume out there or a job description out there where it said 15 years of Kubernetes experience. And the guy pasted that on LinkedIn and it said, it's not been there since 15. Right. So I don't know what you're asking for. Right. That's the expectation which people have, right? You have Kubernetes mastery. But unfortunately, that's not true. I mean, even the trainings out there are very open source centric. And to apply that to enterprises is not easy. So I do see that as an opportunity for helping our customers to tread that path by bringing in Kubernetes into the existing tools which they know and extending the frameworks. For example, you can start with monitoring and troubleshooting, simple visibility, but ideally an enterprise would not stop there, right? They would want to have compliance on Kubernetes. They would want to do show back and charge back on Kubernetes. Now, you can again redo the whole journey of buying plethora of tools and then consolidate after 10 years, or you can already go to a tool like vROps, which is already giving you that extensibility from applications to infrastructure. All we need to do is ingest Kubernetes in between so that you have a full boundary of the application, whether it's running on VMs or whether it's running on Kubernetes. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, and
Make
I
sense?
think, yeah, totally, yeah, and I think we're getting ahead of that too, right? Like, a lot of the customers that I talk with in my role, they're just getting into their journey. Some are a little farther than others, and we're being able to provide them the ability to do that monitoring right within vRops, kind of ahead of their game, so they don't have to kind of look for those bolt-on tools, right? It keeps that common operating environment, it keeps a common monitoring environment, it brings kind of those two pieces together with the DevOps team and the infrastructure team, together. So I think that's, I think in this release with, adding that visibility in was really perfect timing for a lot of my customers.
No, absolutely, Dan. So here is the good and the bad part about the product management role. The good part is, of course, I mean, people feel that you are the boss and the executive of the product and you can do whatever you want, but that's not the reality because sometimes you're also the janitor of the product and you're cleaning up a lot of shit, if I may call that.
Right.
But but here is what happens in the role, right? You most of the times you have to be the thought leaders. I hate that word, but let's say, okay, I use it today. You have to be the thought leader because you are having a conversation with both with customers at both the end of the spectrums, right? One is the leading edge, has 5,000 developers sitting in house, and they are using Kubernetes today in production. They're already done with Kubernetes now. They're doing serverless and they're doing functions as a service and so on and so forth. Now on the other side, where you go and you tell a customer, would you want to go to cloud? And he's like, what if my internet goes down? So there are those two spectrums, and for us we always have to kind of leapfrog and make sure that we are able to cater to those leading edges because we know that the market would follow them. So to your point, while it might appear to be a little I would say immature for certain customers that we have all these capabilities, but I'm sure that they will be hit by this train of Kubernetes very soon. And if they're not ready at that time, it'll be our mistake, not theirs. And we as VMware needs to take that responsibility, in my opinion.
Yeah, I see a lot of infrastructure teams. They're prepping the environment, right? They know it's coming, even if there's not an immediate request for it. So this is just one of those tools that they can prep with, and they don't, the time to value is really shortened because it's something that they're already using. It's just the next version, and that's pretty key. I think it takes one level of stress kind of off of their plate. Is hey, we can prep for this environment. We know that we can get ready for when this is going to become big because, like you said, if it's not happening now, it's going to happen, right? I mean, you're either doing it or you're going to do it, right? It's like the flat tire thing, right? There's two types of people. There's either people that had a flat tire or people are going to have a flat tire, right? That's where we are with Kubernetes.
Absolutely. And I give the credit to William Lamb. I remember sitting with him on a call and he was like, what are you doing about this Kubernetes on VMware on AWS, VMware Cloud on AWS? And I'm like, what about that? And he's like, okay, let me show you my TKG demo appliance and how it works and how it deploys clusters. And he went the whole 9 yards. And thanks to him, I had awareness. And that's what community is for, right? I mean, you make people aware that, hey, you need to move forward. And we all move forward and make progress. And he kind of gave me that lowdown on what exactly he's trying to do and what problems he's trying to solve. And how, because of that, there are other problems which are in the management space, which are clearly getting created or will be there. And hence, we should jump in and latch on and see how we can help those problems. And that's, I think, the primary role of a product manager. product manager can also be termed as problem solver, right? No matter where the problem is, just give me the wrench and I'll go and try and fix it.
Right. Right.
So yeah, thanks to William Lamb, I would say.
I mean, apart from the community and so forth too, because you've come up to speed on Kubernetes really, really quick too, and I do hear from customers and fellow staff too of, okay, there's just this whole new world. We've finally gotten really comfortable with our vSphere and understanding resource pools and clusters, and we know all that stuff. It's all kind of old hat, but now we come marching in with, you got pods and containers and namespaces and control planes and all of this. I mean, so apart from the community, were there any other great resources that you use to come up to speed quickly on this new world of Kubernetes?
That's a difficult question. So I completely agree with you, right? So the first, when I started learning about this, I realized that I need to talk to people, right? I can go through a lot of stuff on the internet, but the reality is that the majority of Kubernetes in terms of enterprises versus Kubernetes and open source are, to me, two different topics, right? You go to Kubernetes on open source, the discussions are around code check-ins, around what's new, around who has built the lighter version of Kubernetes, and so on and so forth, right? It's not about what problems it'll solve for the enterprises, right?
Mhm.
And if you talk to the enterprise side of things, there are not many people who are using it or who have used it successfully. So it's hard to kind of gauge and learn as to what the problems are. Because even before you learn what a pod and a container is, it's important to know why it was created, right? And it was created to solve a problem. So understanding that problem becomes the most important thing before you learn any technology. So my learning was, first, I kind of pretended. I learned from William Lamb. I pretended I learned 4 or 5 words which make me feel like I know Kubernetes. So I'll give you those glossaries. Upstream Kubernetes, pods, ingest at high rate, desired state, and there are a few more. So first you learn these 5 or 6 terms, right? Once you've learned those, then, and Prometheus, Grafana, and all that stuff, right? Then you can go and have a conversation with somebody who already knows this. And because you've said these 4 and 5 words, he will add 10 more, or they will add 10 more. And then they will become 15 and 20, and you will keep on learning. But jokes apart, I actually went out to all my Tanzu colleagues. I mean, we have a whole practice inside VMware. And I spoke to a lot of co-PMs who have come over from Pivotal, because they've dealt with this stuff for a long time. I spoke to my Wavefront colleagues to learn as to how Wavefront does Kubernetes for developers and DevOps. And that's where I learned a lot. Of course, there are resources out there in the internet, which I caught up on later on, because I first wanted to learn the problems they're trying to solve. And then once you understand that, then you know what to read on the internet, because there's so much on the internet.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the approach. I'm still learning. I think I'm learning every day. This morning I was kind of looking at the 8.2 integration on Prometheus, which our developers are kind of just shipping out, and we were looking at exports in Prometheus, right? And there are like thousands of exports which Prometheus support, which basically means it can scrape data from any endpoint, bring into Prometheus. And my goal was to, hey, can we not ask customers to deploy new C advisor files or YAMLs and change configurations? Rather, if they already have Prometheus, which is very famous, go and fetch data from Prometheus and bring it into vROps. And we did it successfully. But I know how many ups and downs I had to go through and how many calls I had to make to talk to people and tell them that I don't know shit. So tell me. And that's the most important thing, right? Once you agree and admit that you don't know it, you will have enough people in the community to come and help you.
One thing I do like is that, we are incorporating ways to pull data from other places, right? We're not just forcing customers or forcing people to change to conform to us. We're going, hey, we recognize that there's you're using these open source tools. You're using these tools that are already pretty prevalent out there in enterprises, and we're using that information to pull in to give better information. And I think that's something that's really helpful when I'm with customers, because I'm not saying you need to rip and replace all the stuff that you just spent a lot of time, money, and effort into putting in, we can work within that solution. And I think, the point you just made there is that's something that's really key to the development of the products.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, right? It's not been a simple journey to get to this point, and going forward also it'll be a little challenging and difficult because there are two school of thoughts, right? And I'm kind of right in between, and I'll talk about both of those, and let's see what you guys think about it, right? The first school of thought is very popular amongst a set of customers who like the out of the box approach, right? So hey, I spoke to a large bank. I mean, I can't name the company, but it's large. So these customers, I went to them and I said, so you're using vROps, show me how you use it. So he said, the best thing about your product, no agents. I said, okay, all right. I thought there are better things, but okay, no agents. That mattered to them, right?
Yeah.
You just go ahead and connect the vCenter with a URL, username, and password. And guess what? You will start collecting data, no questions asked. You know what to collect. You will bring all the metrics. You will start lighting up the dashboard. You will show me where the problems are. You will trigger the alerts. And you know what? You have dynamic thresholds. And I said, oh, you use it? Yes, we use it. And we have these alerts which are anomalies, and we don't even have to decide what the threshold would be. And I was like, oh my goodness, we are building something else. And this guy is just, 10 years ago, what we built, he loves it and he's still there. And I'm like, wow, that's one end. The other end of the spectrum, probably a large healthcare, I'm talking to them and they're like, it's all great that you can do all of this out of the box, but you know what? This is not what we want. We want a way to ingest this data from that platform, this data from that platform, make our own custom metrics, make our own alerts, make it that simple, and so on and so forth. So again, there are like two sides. And I would, if I compare this with Kubernetes, there is an opinionated version of Kubernetes, and there is an upstream open source Kubernetes, right? The upstream one is something where all the community is checking code, and then you can get and fetch that version and start using it. And in the opinionated version, a vendor, let's say like VMware or Red Hat or somebody else, will pick up that Kubernetes from the open source community, put a wrapper around it, put their own set of tools, their own set of APIs, and then ship it to you. So one is customized, one is not customized to your use. So I would say the first case of that bank, everything is customized and they love it. The second case is don't customize anything, give it to me, make the platform a solid platform so that I can do whatever I want. Now these are conflicting requirements, to be honest, right? But how we are dealing with them is that we want to be number one for software-defined data center. Right? We are already number one. We want to continue in that position. We want to make sure that we give capabilities to our customers which are out of the box and turnkey for software-defined data center, whether it's vSphere, NSX, vSAN, or all together with VMware Cloud Foundation. So that's pretty much done, and we are continuing to kind of evolve there. The second part of the story is that, as I said, the customers are going multi-cloud. It'll be impossible for us to have everything out of the box for every cloud out there. But we want to make sure that we have a platform and platform level capabilities which they can simply leverage to extend monitoring, extend capacity, extend costing, extend compliance to these third-party platforms as well. And how we have done it in 8.2, and you will see it coming soon, is one, from an APM perspective. We said that we can take some years and build an application performance management platform, or we can listen to our customers who have already bought AppDynamics, Datadog, New Relic, Dynatrace, and we should just integrate with that and get what is important for the infrastructure teams to get a full line of sight from applications to infrastructure from a pre-curated set of metrics. No agents required. They loved it, and we built it. So that's something which is coming out. The second part is, as I said, Prometheus. So from a Kubernetes standpoint, the way Prometheus works is, and again, this is what I've learned from others, so I'm just sharing, maybe others can also enjoy this, but when I came into saying that, okay, we'll build Prometheus or we'll build a Kubernetes integration with vROps, a lot of people ask me, hey, there's already Prometheus out there, there's Grafana, it will not work. And I'm like, hang on, guys. Let me double click into this and figure out what exactly that is. And because if that's the case, then I know there are 10 vendors out there building Kubernetes integrations. Why are they doing it? So When I double clicked into it, I realized that Prometheus, first of all, is open source, right? And it's usually a developer tool where he's managing a single Kubernetes cluster through Prometheus and visualizing those metrics through Grafana. Great for the developer for a single persona. Imagine 5,000 clusters running in an enterprise. You will have 5,000 Prometheus instances and 5,000 URLs of Grafana to go to and get data. Or you can do something like a Prometheus federation, which means you will have a Prometheus, another Prometheus, another Prometheus, and they all talk to the federated Prometheus, something like vROps federation. But the scale of vROps federation versus Prometheus federation are two different things. One is the developer scale, the second is the enterprise scale.
Right.
So that's where we need to leverage those existing Prometheus, get data into vROps so that enterprise can look into the full stack visibility of the applications and infrastructure. And then it's not just about monitoring and troubleshooting when it comes to enterprise. They want costing, they want chargeback, they want showback, they want compliance, they want reporting. All of that needs to happen at an enterprise platform. And that's why we believe that not only directly connecting with Kubernetes, but going through Prometheus will also give us that leverage.
I mean, it's definitely kind of an interesting point that you bring up is you're not just tackling a single problem. How do we monitor Kubernetes? But it's like figure out how do we, first of all, what do we pull into our management solution? And then also how do we, make that data available in an easily consumable way? So you're really looking at two separate problems here too, right? Because you got to think about, okay, what is the platform? Well, the developers are using Prometheus, but the infrastructure teams and the consumers of ops really are concerned with X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
So I mean, a lot of that's driven by, again, talking with customers, and I mean, how do you kind of bring those two worlds together?
Yeah, so talking with customers is the key. So just to kind of give some background, I started my career in a call center 17 years ago, and that's how I started my career, talking to customers. Back then, I was talking about HP desktops and the problem the desktop, like dial-up connection not working.
Yeah.
And that time I was taking probably 60 calls a day. Then I moved on into enterprise call centers, which is I started with HP storage. So I was supporting XP and 3PAR, and not 3PAR was not acquired by then. And the Hitachi storage, I remember XP is one, and then oh God, I'm forgetting the names now. EVAs, you're right.
Yep.
EVAs and the MSAs and the tape libraries.
Right.
At that time, probably 6 calls a day, because enterprise calls do not run for like 5 minutes. They go on for 2 hours or 4
Right.
hours. But yeah, talking to customers was a key. And then I moved on to doing consulting, right? So which is talking to customers on their side, sitting with them and understanding the pain. So that was, I think, the biggest strength, what got me over to the product management side. And I don't want to leave that strength, right? I don't want to leave that source which powers me. So at least a customer a day is what my pedigree is. It can sometimes be more than that, but yeah, that's what I do. I talk to customers, and I try to talk to customers who are not happy, because that's where you really get to know what's going on. You talk to the happy customers, they'll just go and tell you the good things about your product, and you'll be happy as well. It's important. I'm not saying appreciation is not important, but the reality is wherever a customer is unhappy, you get to discover a lot more. And that's where the real value lies, right? What's the real problem is they're facing? So yeah, that's the source.
And how does that process work, right? Like, how do customers provide that feedback to you? Is it, do we reach out to them? Is it just the field teams kind of making that connection? Is it, how is that whole process work to where you can get that good information?
So it's all of the above, right? Whatever. If you have added 3 more things there, I would say yes, yes, and yes. So the reality is this, right? I mean, first of all, I think there are internal channels within VMware which are very critical. We had something called Socialcast. Now we have Social, Slack. So internally, to be available on all those channels, right? I mean,
Right.
I have no business to be in the OpenShift channel, but if I'm talking about Kubernetes, I need to know what's going on. So I'm there, all right? And not only internally, but externally as well, wherever
Right.
possible. Then since I've been writing my blog for like 9 years now, whenever you write, you get engaged with the community as well, whether it's Twitter or whether it's Facebook, sometimes LinkedIn is full of people asking questions. I'm like, this is hard, but I try to catch. So ultimately, wherever I see a customer connect, I make sure that I just leverage it to my benefit, as well as make sure I can give back wherever possible, right? So it's always a two-way thing. And ultimately, from the field teams, as you said, Dan, whether it's TAMs, which are a great resource in VMware to help us connect with the customers, whether it's a GSS, right? I have often got on GSS Zoom calls. I don't recall me having product managers on my GSS calls when I was in GSS, but I feel that how can you not do it? I mean, GSS call is the black and white of what your product is doing.
Right.
If you really want to learn. So whenever I get a ping from somebody in GSS that, hey, you have a customer and he's trying to do this VMC integration, it's not working. I said, can I get on a call? And they're like, are you sure? Of course I'm sure. Let's get on a call. And the reason of doing that is again, two purposes, right? One is we designed sitting in our cabin or in our work from home environment for the users. And in the real world, when the user is using it, there might be hundreds of different factors which we didn't consider. And getting on a call with the customer and trying to explore those factors is pedigree and strength for me. And I can go ahead and have those meaningful conversations while designing the next version with my user experience team. So yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest source.
Now you mentioned, you started out in a call center, consulted with customers and everything. Did you ever see yourself jumping into the whole cloud management thing? I mean, was this something you seeked out or something that seeked you out?
Yeah, it's something which seeked me out, if I have to answer that first of all. But it's a journey. I can go on that journey for the next few minutes. But just to kind of summarize, and that'll take more than a minute, I'm sure, is primarily when I was done with doing call centers and I think 6-7 years of, or 6 years at least, of working in nights, I was like, no, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I want to go out and meet those customers now. Enough of talking to them over the phone. So that's where I actually had to move out of VMware. I went and joined Capgemini. And in Capgemini, I was a consultant. I was there for 10 months, not long. But when I joined in, I was told that, hey, you have to travel around the world, and whenever we need you. And I said, of course, I'm ready. Right. What are you talking about? But when I went there, I was told that, okay. So I said, when do I have to travel and what visa should I apply? And, so they were like, no, wait. First, we will build the services portfolio for which we have been hired. I said, what does that mean? I said, it's a startup with a Capgemini. You have to build the services portfolio, and then we will bid for the services, and then we will win the services, and you are the virtualization expert there. I said, really? Okay. So we actually started building the whole set of PSO services, if you may, or it was called the IT transformation services. And by the time I built that out, I was so bored. I was like, no, I need to go back to VMware because I'm done with writing notes and Excel sheets and creating portfolios and saying this service does this and blah, blah, blah. I'm done with this. I need to really go and touch the keyboard and do something, right? So that's where VMware PSO services started in India back then. So today there are around 150, 200 odd people. But myself and another gentleman by the name of Samir, we started that practice back in India with 2 consultants. And then is when I realized that whatever I've learned in 10 months of Capgemini is critical, right? Understanding the services business from its core was very important. And I started leveraging that, did a bunch of engagements. I still have a folder for every customer. So I think I'm at 89 right now. I've missed some folders, but so it's an engagement per customer. And there are phases within that as well, of course. I maintain that. But when I was doing that, cloud management appeared to be I would say, an area which was pretty interesting because while I was doing professional services, I was moved on to do pre-sales. And the head of India business trusted me a lot. And he said, you're good with talking to customers. Why don't you get into understanding customer pain points, understanding where the CXOs want to go and take IT in the next 2, 3, 4 years, and then come up with a proposal and talk about that proposal, not from a point of view of the sales guy, because the sales guy is usually seen as a person who's trying to sell something, but as a consultant who's trying to tell a customer that if you really want to go through this journey, then these are the steps you have to take. This is your current state, this is your future state, and all that fun stuff. So I did that for a number of engagements. And at that time, and till today, it's called digital transformation. It's just the versions of digital transformation. But when I was doing that, I realized that cloud management has the biggest role here, because you can build the SDDC or underlying infrastructure and buy the best-in-class hardware and software. But if you're not able to deliver or create and deliver services to the end consumers in a simplified fashion, all of that investment is a waste, right? So, I've seen a lot of projects failing where they got the most expensive software, most expensive hardware, but the cloud just failed because it did not have the basic principles of cloud uh, applied to when the cloud management layer was built, right? Self-service, scalability, security, governance, all of that pieces were missing. So that's where I got introduced to cloud management. And then I saw vRealize operations. And because I was a VMware vSphere expert coming from GSS, I could do a lot of things in vROps, which were pretty fascinating, and started writing a blog. And then I was moved over to Singapore. I worked in Singapore for a few years as a PSO. And then somebody in the cloud management business unit here called me up and said, "We've seen your blog and we want you to come here and write end-to-end use cases of how customers use or do day two operations." I said, "Sure, but there's no location, no position in Singapore." And they said, "No, it's in Palo Alto." I said, "What the hell, really?" "Okay, I'll pack my bags." And it took 6 months packing my bag, because that's how much time it takes to get a visa and all that stuff. So came over here and started writing those end-to-end test cases. I had nothing to do with development or coding. I was not even a product manager, but just tell us how customers use our products so that we can make it for them. I said, that looks like an afterthought, but let's do it. And in 3 months, the product managers I was working with, they realized that I should be on this team, because whatever use cases I'm writing, they cannot be fulfilled with the current state of the product. And I said, that's the reality. Customer wants to do it. They cannot do it. It's a different story. That's when I was recruited in the team. And it's been 3.5 years now. And yeah, it's been a fun journey. I'm just trying to execute on what I've learned in the past, and learn from co-product managers, other products, and the whole practice of product management, and go forward from there. So let's see where life takes me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the short 10 minutes.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it sounds like such a natural progression of, I mean, yeah, it definitely sounds like it seeked you out. But then, I mean, you're now kind of looking to the future. I mean, you're attending classes at Stanford and everything too. I mean, what kind of drove you to go back to school and keep learning?
So I remember I did my bachelor's in business administration. And when I was doing that, it was the last year of college, and my dad called up, and he was going through some ups and downs in business, and he was like, "When will you actually start earning? Because I've been sending you money every month and your fees." And I'm like, "Oh man, I didn't realize that he has expectations. I had bigger plans. I want to do BBA, then MBA, then whatnot, and then we'll see." And that's what the natural progression of students there in India. In India, it's not like go out and work at a McDonald's. It's like, no, you don't do that. You go to school, go to college, maybe do a doctorate, and then start working. So I was on that path, and my dad suddenly woke me up and said, "No, you need to go and work." And then I started working the call center job. So I could never progress and do more of higher education back then. And then in reality, when I looked at doing an MBA, I realized that, hey, I would want to rather go and do a course where I could meet with people who spend the same amount of time in their experiences, or maybe more in their careers, and learn about real world problems which they're facing, and share what I'm facing. And then kind of come back with solutions as to what the proper frameworks are to solve those problems. That's where I discovered Stanford and Stanford Lead, which is an executive leadership program. It's around corporate innovation. And it really talks about, it's not just about product management. I have people who are product managers, program managers, CIOs, CEOs, owners of their own businesses, people from the entire spectrum. And it goes through like 9 different courses, and I've just finished my 3rd or 4th one right now. But each of these courses are done by the Graduate School of Business professors with the cohort who are all over the world and are facing similar experiences of what I've gone through. And learning from those experiences, learning and applying those frameworks back on what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis is what is fascinating. And the biggest thing I would say is self-awareness. We are all doing our jobs with this the horse eye cover, whatever it's called, and running.
Wonders, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
blinders. Yeah, thank you. And while we're doing that race of getting forward, getting promoted, getting to the new role, we are forgetting our basics, or we are not even aware of our basics, our strengths, our weaknesses, how we impact others, how we can go back and help the community. And it's not just money, right? It can be time, it could be just ideas you share with others. So, and this course is really helping me unlock, I would say, those powers. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's something other than vROps.
I know, we didn't want to make this entirely about features and, it's great to hear comments about customers. I think that's such a common theme from everything that you're saying is how important customer feedback is to developing these applications and development of it. But, when I was kind of doing this for a living, there was one thing in vRops that usually tripped me up a lot, and that was policy management. And I saw in the 8.2 version that there's a whole new policy workflow. And I was like, damn, I wish that was there when, 4 or 5 years ago when I was doing it, because it would have made my life a lot harder. There was a lot of weird things that I did wrong that I'm blame on policy because of the way policy kind of reacted to things. So, I was happy to really see, kind of that new workflow from a feature perspective. I think that's, I would think that would have to come pretty directly from a lot of customer feedback because, that's one of those things that was just a pain point. Now it looks like it's really getting nice.
Yep, yep. No, absolutely. So if you look at starting 6.7 release of vROps, and I can give my credit to myself because that's when I joined the team. I'm just kidding. So, so no, I've been lucky, right? I mean, all the people who've joined the team with user experience and everybody joined literally at the same time. I think it was just a point of change, right, or inflection, where we came up with 6.7, 7.0, 7.5, 8.0, 8.1, now 8.2. And with every release, we already had like 300 features in the backlog, which customers want. Plus, we want to make sure that we can simplify the user experience. So we had to have a balance between what we can deliver new, and then how we simplify what we already have. And in that aspect, it took us time to touch each and everything one by one. So we started with, I would say, capacity, right? 6.7. We said a capacity engine cannot be a bad job which runs every night at 9 p.m. and looks at some hundreds of configurations which a user has done in the policy and then go and give the results. It's a nightmare, right? It's powerful, but a user might not know what all is peak and valleys in their environments. So we said, okay, let's replace that with some machine learning, or I would say artificial intelligence more than machine learning, and leverage an algorithm which helps to automatically forecast based on whatever data is being collected every 5 minutes. So it's atomic. It's not slow. It's not like 9 p.m. because you might deploy 100 VMs in the day on a cluster. And you can't wait till next day morning to come up and see, oh, I ran out of capacity. Let me do something, right? You need to know then and there. That's where the capacity simplification happened. Then we said, hey, we need to look at how we're doing dashboards and sharing these dashboards. It's quite complex. So we went into 7.0. We made it simple to share dashboards. And we also went ahead and simplified how do you configure each and every widget, copy, paste them, and so on and so forth. And once we were done with that, with 7.5, I would say, and if I recall correctly, we just simplified the overall accounts and creations of how do we collect data, how do we make it consistent across the board, apart from all the other features we have done. So I'm not talking about features, I'm just talking about just taking care of the debt,
Right.
which we had, right, from a 10-year-old architecture. So we changed custom groups and how do we simplify all of that process. And the inventory, we came up with this relationship widget, which is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, I love it on how our user experience teams designed that and engineering delivered it, because now that's the favorite view for all our customers. And then 8.0 happened and we changed alerts, right? So the entire alerting has been refreshed and changed. 8.2 is when we came to policy and we said, okay, policy management is important. It's critical because without governance, it's hard to do operations in a large scale enterprise environment. You have different kind of thresholds for each environment or each cluster or each workload or application. So you need something which is governing that. And that was policy. It's very powerful in the way it is in 8.1, but it's extremely confusing to somebody who's new. Once you learn it, it's like a black art. So what we did was we said the rule is that when we go ahead and change policy management, we will not lose the power, but we will add simplicity on top of it. So one thing which you would notice is that it's completely in context of a change which you're trying to do. So let's say if Dan, you're getting an alert on a VM and the threshold is 80% and you want to do it 85%, you don't have to go and create a custom group, add those VMs in that, then create a policy, change the threshold, add the policy and custom group together, and then rank them, and then hopefully things work for you.
You
right?
just explained it exactly how I did it. That was exactly the way I had to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is painful, right? So
Yeah.
now what we've done is in context of that particular object, you have a policy. So just click on the policy and say edit alert threshold and change it in context without going to the policy screen. Same as with collection, same as with capacity management. Everything is in context of the use case. And the second thing, when you go into overall policy creation, let's say you're creating a net new policy, then you don't have to worry about looking at everything and then taking a decision what all I want. Rather, we've made it with the UX principle of progressive disclosure, right? Come and see what you want, search for it, you'll get it, work with it, go next step, and you're done. You don't have to go through everything to achieve that one small thing. And last and the most important thing, you do not need to create a custom group anymore to associate a policy to an object. You can do a direct assignment.
That's nice.
Not only with that object, but also with its child or children, basically, which are in the same hierarchy. So that is extremely powerful. And while the policies are still complex in the back end, they are not being something which a user has to deal with. But the system will automatically leverage that framework to make sure it can deliver value to the customers. So yeah, you will see some more. Hint, we're trying to completely transform further in the upcoming releases. I can't give you full details, but I can tell you that there'll be a lot of heads turning towards vROps next year.
Great. That's good to hear. I mean, the product is really, I mean, I think the first time I used it was in the 6.5 days, and I've told this story before. I was basically like, "Hey, fix this" at the company I was working at, and it progressively just got better and better and better and better, and we were unlocking more value with it, and it became better, easier to administer, and I was able to, really be able to show other groups within our organization how to use it and get the value out of it. And little things like that, where it doesn't seem like that's a huge feature, is that policy workflow just becoming easier to manage really does. I mean, that's really something for administrators, right? I mean, it's, that is something that's going to make their life better. So whenever I see product releases that have those little things in there, I think back to my days and I'm like, man, that is really nice. Like, that's something that I can talk to my customers about and say, hey, here's how you can, this pain point goes away a little bit, is something like that. So I was happy to see that.
All right, good. That's good to know, Dan. Yeah, there's more coming for sure, and I'm always excited, as you might have noticed by now. But I'm super excited for VMworld, especially for vROps Cloud. We've done some tremendous work, and the engineering, hats off to the engineers and the user experience teams who've been able to actually take the same code base and transform that into a cloud service. It's that simple to get. So you click on a link and the service is right there. And I've had customers who are like, I don't have to do anything else. No, just deploy that proxy and start collecting data. Wow, because for somebody to install, configure, sizing, all of that goes out of the window, right? And then we've been able to achieve things like upgrades in minutes onto the new platform. So we've been rolling out new code in the cloud. with the same feature sets, and customers who are on there, who are doing the betas and trials, are absolutely loving it. And because we are going in that direction, it is also helping our on-prem customers, because now guess what? We are managing it, right? And to manage it, it has to be absolutely robust, right? We are promising service levels which are nowhere to be heard. And to deliver on those service levels, the platform has to be robust, it has to stand on itself, it has to be scalable, it has to be resilient, it has to be feature rich. And the most important thing is, which we are working towards, is making it self-service, right? We cannot expect a customer to have a PSO and a TAM and a SE sitting and then stitching everything together to say, there's your operations. The expectation is really the web expectation, that I would be able to go, log in, connect my data sources, start collecting data, start getting value immediately, as you mentioned. We do a lot of that today, but I think we have a lot of opportunity to simplify further, and we'll continue to do that. And hopefully, we'll come on some episode again in the future and show you guys what we're doing and where we're going.
Yeah, and it lines right up with, my customers are continuously wanting to start to consume more SaaS for some of these applications, right? So it's just a perfect timing, perfect release. This is another one of those applications that they don't have to support the infrastructure for, right? And that makes it really something worth value,
Absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, and it's not just that, right? It's also the entire SDDC. The monumental shift I'm seeing in VMware Cloud on AWS is absolutely astonishing. And our goal is to have a single click experience for all our cloud services with VMware Cloud, right? So you are on VMware Cloud, you've got the SDDC. Now you can provision VMs, but guess what? You need hundreds of different services, whether it's migration services with HCX, whether it's monitoring services with vROps, whether it's logging services with Log Intelligent or Log Insight Cloud, or whether it's provisioning services with automation, Kubernetes services with Tanzu. All of those are one-click enabled services, and that's where we are headed towards. And the good news is that while we start with Amazon or VMware Cloud on AWS, that same model is becoming very popular with Azure, right? So you might have heard about Azure VMware services. You might have heard about Google Cloud VMware Engine. All of these hyperscalers are leveraging the SDDC platform in their clouds. And guess what? It's not just the SDDC. In order to basically make that SDDC operational, you need the management layer, and that's where you guys, or the cloud management, comes into picture, right? And I'm sure that as we progress in this area, you will have a lot of content which will talk about how the cloud management works across hyperscalers. So it's a pretty interesting time, and yeah, a lot of money to be made and a lot of problems to be solved.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Maybe we should shift gears a little bit and talk about VMworld coming up. So what do you have planned for VMworld? Where are you doing it? What sessions you got coming up? What's your thoughts on going all virtual? I know we're all, what would have been this week, right? We all would have been there and, seeing everybody. And I a couple times that's run across my mind in the last couple days, but so what are your plans for VMworld, Sunny?
Yeah, I just ordered some new pajamas. That's the beginning. I don't want to show up in the old ones, right? So jokes apart, I mean, to be honest, right, I've attended some virtual conferences by now in the last 6 months. It's both good and bad, right? The good part is, of course, you have a lot more attendees. A lot of people are able or have access to the content. The bad part is that you can very quickly switch off and go and do something else. Which is a little challenging, right? So to engage the audience, you have to have the right set of content, and then other techniques as well, which I hope marketing is working on, so that we can have a very interesting and evolved VMworld. I do miss being not in San Francisco, but maybe in Moscone or in Vegas. I although I live just 30 miles from San Francisco, I have not. You guys know I don't want to have to say anything for SF fans, but yeah, the overall thing is that I would miss kind of hugging along people and going out for a beer and having those informal conversations where you learn a lot, and not just about work, right? You learn about people, personalities, and you learn about new things which you can venture out on. So yeah, I'll miss all of that fun, but it is what it is. Time has demanded that. We should all respect the fact that we are in this time where we cannot do that, but it's okay. Next year, I'm sure we'll all come back on double speed and have much more, or double the fun, or maybe more than that. But yeah, for this year, my focus is to make sure that we're able to deliver all the content. We've been planning a lot of sessions. Matt and I have been talking about the Kubernetes session. I've been talking to Brandon Gordon, who's one of our technical marketing manager, on the VMC, or VMware Cloud on AWS sessions. And then, yeah, we have a ton of what's new session on 8.2 and vROps Cloud. That's pretty interesting as well. So I would say go ahead and register for those sessions. You will see detailed, I would say, details on what we are delivering with 8.2. Also, it'll talk about demos. So it's not just slideware. We are preparing a lot of exciting demos, which will really show you how you get value out of all these new developments. I would encourage you to do that. And at VMworld in general, I would ask you to I would ask the audience, to whoever is attending for the first time specifically, to make sure that they're able to touch different topics and different of interest. VMware is a big franchisee, I would say. It's growing with different in different directions. So multi-cloud is one. Security is exciting. So I'm loving the fact that I'll be able to learn more about Carbon Black and security. I'll probably go through some sessions, which I would have not done otherwise. Going into VMworld would be just meetings for me. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And yeah, a lot of new areas and development happening across the board. It's time to deep dive and learn.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'll miss the most is when you come out of those sessions, you're always talking with somebody about what you just heard, right? Whether you know the person or not, there's always comments that are there. And it's, sometimes you end up walking to another session with somebody you never met before, and you're discussing the technology or everything. So I think that's, those ad hoc conversations are going to be the ones that I miss. But, I'm hoping that, the platform and everything is really great. There's a lot of people that are registered. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all kind of plays out, but I'm excited for it. Like you said, when I get a chance to go, it's a lot of meetings and meeting with customers. So now I'll have an opportunity to actually, take in some sessions that are meaningful for things that that I'm interested in and what I normally wouldn't get exposure to. So I'm excited about it. Right. And like you said, right from our house in our pajamas with, my coffee and all that kind of stuff. Right.
With the food you like.
You've
right?
got the treadmill too, and getting your 30,000 steps in between sessions too. So.
There you go.
And we won't have to wait for a bathroom for the first time, right? You just right in, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, you'll get the food you like, right from your kitchen.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah, it's. I remember I first went to VMworld in 2015. That was like the first session, and since then I hope they ship badges, because that'll be. I'll miss the badge.
Or can we print out our own?
But I want the badge.
Yeah, I would love to print out my own. Like I'll sit in my living room with my own badge on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Scan yourself before you go into your session.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they have to do something, right? To get the feeling on. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many events which happen across the year, but we missed mostly all of them, and everything is virtual. It's good and bad, but yeah, I'm looking forward to next year, to be honest. This year is great. It'll happen. It'll go through its pace. But next year is what would be exciting as well.
I tell you,
because of what we're doing with vROps.
Yeah.
Again, hint.
I was going to say, man, there's going to be some really great parties next year, right?
So, if everything goes right, we should definitely do a vROps party.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, Sunny, thanks so much for jumping on with us today, spending some time hanging out with Dan and myself, talking about vRealize operations, new release coming out, very soon. There's going to be a lot of great content at VMworld, like you're talking about. So be sure to check that out. And Sunny, where can people find you?
Sure. First of all, before they find me, I want to thank you guys. because you guys are helping discover myself showcase myself and giving me visibility. So thanks for the opportunity on Cloud Management Monthly. It's a great podcast. I've heard the first 2 episodes as well, and this is the 3rd one. Hopefully you'll have many more, and I will get a chance to come back if this was
For
good.
sure.
So, and yeah, whatever you guys are doing for the community, spending that extra time and giving the content back to the community is great. So keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to find me, I am on multiple places. So you can go to my website. I've really created my website. It's called sunnydua.com. It's as simple as that. It's still under development, I would say. So you'd find it a little premature, but it's there. And then it's my blog, which is vexpress.blogspot.com. It's been running for 8 or 9 years now. And I tweet at sunny_dua. It's DUA.
Awesome. We'll make sure that we put links to all of that, all the information that you talked about in the description. Man, I tell you, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been really a pleasure to talk to you and listen about how, all of this kind of feedback from customers comes to you and you're able to help with the product development. It's really a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
And thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sunny. That was awesome stuff, Dan. Really great to hear not only what's coming in vRealize Operations 8.2 and vRealize Operations Cloud, but also, again, really get that perspective that Sunny brings to, and really the rest of our PM and our engineering teams bring to such a major release like this. What was kind of one big takeaway that you got out of this?
Yeah, I think for me it was, the level of customer input and that theme throughout all of the releases and how much customer information and how many times they're looking at customers and looking at what customers want in order to develop a really great product and where customers and enterprise are going. It was a common theme throughout the whole thing, is just how important customers are to these types of releases.
Yeah, exactly. A product like this does not get built in a vacuum. Customer feedback, everything. We're building it for you, so it's fantastic to get all that. I thought it was really interesting too, where he's talking about kind of being on the cutting edge of where some customers are, but also trying to help the customers that are not quite there yet. And also trying to balance that with some of the technical debt from some of the older ways that we used to do things too. I thought it was very interesting, kind of hearing about that balancing act that goes into that. So looking forward to having Sunny back on the show. That was a really good conversation.
Yeah,
I loved it.
It was great.
With VMworld being free this year, and hopefully you're catching this podcast right before VMworld. I'm sure afterwards recordings will be available too. So it's free this year. There's really no reason not to take some time and enjoy a couple of sessions, if not enjoy more sessions. So, check out, we've got what's new in vRealize Operations. That's going to be a great session to check out. We'll show a lot of demos of some of these new features that we talked about here today. So really looking forward to VMworld. I mean, Dan, what are your plans for VMworld this year?
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm definitely gonna hit sessions that are of interest to me, and these are things that we don't get to normally see a lot. So I'm really excited. Matt, I know you're doing some sessions with the Cloud Management Business Unit. What do you have coming up? What do you want to plug? How can people watch you at VMworld?
Yeah, I mean, if you just can't get enough of me, from this podcast and want to see more, no, I mean, really, I'm focused a lot on the application side of things with vRealize Operations and the troubleshooting side of things, and actually, really not just at vRealize Operations level, but at the entire suite level. So I have 4 sessions. There's the new 361-degree troubleshooting, where we talk about vRealize Operations. Skyline is in there. Network Insight, Log Insight. So a lot of really good content in there. That's called the new 361-degree troubleshooting. I have application or app-aware operations. So we're really focused on, again, really at the application level. So we're looking at what do we have in vRealize Operations today? What are we bringing to it with this new release with some of the APM integrations that Sunny talked about? And then also looking at vRealize Network Insight and how do we bring all of these together to really work together to try to help solve common issues. And then there's, application to infrastructure with vRealize Operations. So again, really looking at that application story and diving deep and touching all the various aspects that vRealize Operations can bring to applications. And then finally, I'm so lucky I get to work on applications. Also get to focus a lot of time on Tanzu and in the Kubernetes space, working directly with Sunny on a lot of this stuff too. So automation and operations for your Tanzu infrastructure with vRealize. I'm presenting that one with Sam McGowan, talking about what vRealize automation can bring to your Tanzu infrastructure, as well as marrying that to vRealize operations. So what can we do with that day two type of management for this new world of infrastructure? So really excited, getting these put together as we speak. So, if you get a chance and you're really curious about the stuff, check out any of those 4 sessions.
I will be registered for all those 4 sessions. I can't wait to see all the great content that you guys have put out. I know you and a lot of people have worked pretty hard this year to get everything prepared for the virtual VMworld. So I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. I mean, there's so much to talk about. We've got the release and we have VMworld. It's like the timing couldn't be better. So yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So glad to hear you'll be there. I'll wave to you from the virtual stage. But Dan, I mean, episode 3 now. I think we could probably call this one a wrap. It was a great conversation. Obviously always great hanging out with you, hanging out with Sunny. So with that, where can people find Cloud Management Monthly and get more doses of this wonderful podcast?
Yeah, I mean, you can find us at cloudmanagementmonthly.com. That'll go right to our YouTube channel. And if you would prefer to listen to the audio version, we are available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and Podbean. So give us a like, put a comment in the description, tell Matt good luck on VMworld. Don't forget to subscribe to help us out. And we really hope everybody enjoyed today's show.
So thanks everybody for watching today. Have a great day. We'll see you next month.
All right. See you, everybody. I mean,
oh yeah, Podbrand, the only podcast high in fiber. It's
yeah,
Podbrand.
Right. You just got to listen to it in the bathroom. I'll be watching in my underwear.
I don't know.
Ta-da!
Let's do it.
All right.
That's right. That's not creepy.
Yeah,
don't use that in the bloopers.
Yeah, right. Welcome, everybody, to Cloud Management Monthly. I am Dan Kerr. With me is Matt Bradford. We have...
Hey, everybody.
We'll start.
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
I just talk in my head, like when I'm like voicing my stuff for VMworld, I'm like just going all over the place. I'm like whacking my microphone. And
you look good now, so go for it.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
You doing?
It's like I'm looking into a mirror. Because nobody watches to the end anyways, right? There's like 4 or 5 people. I'm like, have you seen the outtakes? They're like, what? There's outtakes? And I'm like, yeah.
Let's be honest.
Oh, crap. I haven't been recording. Yeah. Just kidding. I'm recording.
Oh.
I'll earn 50
Sunny.
Hey, Sunny.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything you said, can you just say it again?